So today what we're going to be sharing with you is we're going to be installing a ARB single air compressor in our truck. This is going to be a little bit of a process because we're not 100% sure where we're going to install it. We've got the single, not the double, so it's pretty compact. So we just have to figure out where it would fit and where and how we would mount it. So we ordered all of this off of All-Dogs Offroad. Their customer service is just fantastic. So if you've never worked with them before, I can't recommend them enough. They're super, super nice, really helpful. Shopping around and deciding which air compressor we wanted. And I was I ultimately narrowed it down to this ARB and the Viair. I have some friends who have that and say really good things about it. Ultimately, I decided to go with the ARB for a couple of reasons. Number one is they have all of this equipment that works really compatibly with each other. Number two, their warranty tends to be really good. So if we ever have an issue with it. And then the third reason is just it's really compact. I'm not super concerned about how long it's going to take to air up tires. You can get bigger ones. You can get ones that air up much faster and more efficiently. If that's something you're interested in, that's something that I wasn't really concerned about. I've used ARB equipment before and have been nothing but satisfied. So, all right. So here she is. Very small, you can see. It's honestly just so beautifully designed. You can see it's got kind of this plate on the bottom that you would mount it onto a bracket. It does come with one included. I've seen some people fabricate one specifically for their vehicle, and we'll kind of see where we end up putting it. Really, I think the most complicated thing for us is going to be figuring out where we're going to mount it, and then I'm going to walk you through this whole process. So I found a few people who did this exact compressor. They installed it under the passenger seat of their Nissan Xterra or their Patrol. So I'm kind of tempted to try that. That will require taking the whole seat out, which we'll see. That might actually be a little bit more complicated than I'm anticipating. The one more comprehensive instructions that I have found, somebody has put this on top of their fuse box. So that's an option, but I'm not terribly fond of that. It's not super practical, and there just really isn't a lot of room under our hood. Is because we have the supercharger and the intercooler and some other things going on in there with that system, there's less room under our hood than there would be in a stock Frontier. A review of this will be a future video once we have it in and we've used it a little bit. Pew, pew, pew. But today, we're just gonna put it in. And we are noobs. We don't know what we're doing. We've done some wiring for our, our lights and stuff. So we know what we're doing in that way, but this is definitely going to be a project where we're stretching ourselves. So this might be an interesting video. Changing plans already. Alejandro was working on taking the driver's seat out, and I was just kind of reading through the instructions and taking everything out and setting it out. And there's absolutely no way that we're going to have enough wire to route from under the driver's seat to the battery. Plugs on. What did you find? Taki. So I'm really trying to work with what they give us and not tinker with it too much. So I think we're probably going to mount this to the fuse box, which I'm not super stoked about, but I think it's the best case scenario given the layout of our truck and our engine bay. And their fuse boxes are back here, so we can do it on either one of these guys. And then we actually already have a pass-through in our firewall here for our aftermarket lights, our ditch lights, and these guys. So we ultimately have settled on putting it on the rearmost fuse box because it's bigger, it's a little bit more stable. We had to move 2 relays that were mounted behind it, but that's not a big deal. I've marked it. We're gonna drill holes, and then this actually is gonna go inside the lid, and then the compressor will go on top. Andrew lost the charger to our drill, so it's pretty weak right now. It's good. More like it? A little bit of Tetris. We took a picture of this before we installed this so that we know what's behind there.
Like I knew what it was before anyway.
There are a variety of different ways that you can seal thread. I am using TFE thread seal. It's just Teflon tape you would use in plumbing. And I have this T piece and my pressure valve piece is going in this side. This side I'm going to connect to the compressor itself, and then I have no idea where the other piece went. It's around here somewhere. And then this will connect here, and this is where we would attach our hose to go to our tires. You don't need much, just a couple of wraps. So this is going to connect to the compressor itself. So this is the air filter. So this will go on this edge. So we just would pry off the...
That might be a terrible tool.
No, it's fine. Dust protector. And I'm actually going to take this apart before I screw it on so I don't lose anything. These ends are for the power for your battery and your ground. It runs through this fuse that's provided. Really nice quality there with the cover and everything.
So pretty.
And it's got a spot too where you can mount it too, so it's easy to access. These are going to go to the pressure control, which is that piece that the T piece that comes off of it that goes to the where we connect the hose. So these are going to go to the pressure controller. This is the actual power for the compressor itself. These would go to the two solenoids that are on the top of the compressor if we were to use an air locker. We are not, so I'm going to tape these and close them off. This goes to our relay, which is provided. So this will plug into there and that'll mount onto the body. And then this nice long wire is going to run through the firewall, and this plug plugs into this guy. And then you have 3 different switches. Again, switch 1, 2, and an initiator. This is, again, if you're using this for an air locker, you're going to need all 3 of these. We only need the one, so I'm going to close these wires off. And then these 2 are used for the ignition and the dash lights.
Yeah.
Which we never had to do before, so we'll figure that out. Hopefully this goes without saying, but if you're doing anything electrical with your truck, or really honestly, if you're doing most things, you should unhook the battery before you do anything. So we're gonna do that first, obviously, and then kind of set all this stuff up before we hook it back up. I will also say as a disclaimer, my husband has done similar projects before. He's wired up multiple sets of aftermarket lights on this truck and our previous one. And the first time he ever did that, he did it with a friend of ours who does like professional drift car racing. So it was very comfortable working under the engine, in the engine bay, and with electrical parts. So this is not super complicated. Just take your time with it, and if you ever feel uncomfortable, like, take your vehicle to a professional. Functionally send this to you like this, outside of the plug, so that it's easier for you to route it through the firewall. So this is much easier to run through there. So once you've routed it through, you'll put it into this plug, and it's really quite simple. These are gonna plug into each other, and so you're gonna route these wires into this plug so that it matches, so you have same colors going to same colors.
Super massive screwdriver. Don't know where this came from. Painter's tape. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this guy right here. Shout out to my buddy Chase. He showed me this trick to get through when he helped me set up a light bar once upon a time. Now you want to make this as thin as possible, like as narrow, because you're going to stick this right through. This is the way I do it. It's not the cleanest. It's kind of the quick and dirty way to do it. Some folks might not like that. So there's the opening we're gonna go through. There's some other wires going through already from our lighting. So the cup holders are right here. That's the first thing to come out. We'll just take those out, and then this is super easy to move. I don't think we've talked about this much. This is just a switch panel we found online, super cheap. I think this like 5-piece doodad was, I don't know, $4. And then for the empty ones, it comes with covers.
So you can see this one was not wired, I just wired it. So the green is running to green, yellow to yellow, red to red, black to black. So it's super, super easy. You just click all of these ends. Make sure that they click. You may have to rotate them, but you want to hear a click and they'll be nice and stuck in there. Look in the instructions on page 12. It'll give you a nice little diagram of the colors of the wiring. The back of the switch looks like this, and you can see if you look really closely on the actual switch itself, it has numbers. We've already put it in our switch panel, so I'm gonna tell Alejandro which ones go to where. The instructions are kind of unclear about this. It doesn't really explain in the manual that comes with it what the isolation switch is, and so we had it hooked up to switch 1. Well, turns out if you're only using this for inflation and you're not using this for an air locker, you're gonna use the isolation switch. So before we turn this on, I'll just kind of walk you through this again. We've got our switch here, the wires coming underneath there, pushed out there. Those are our lights. We'll zip tie all of that together. The wires run into the engine bay. Got them hooked up there. So the compressor is mounted to this back fuse panel box. The relay is mounted there. We tucked the fuse in here, and we've got our pressure control switch and the power plugged in to the compressor, and we zip tied this all to the compressor so it's not touching the supercharger system because that gets really hot. And then, like we were saying, we've got the red positive hooked to the positive terminal and the 2 black wires hooked to the negative, and it should work. What the hell? Well, we thought we were going to be finished, and then we went to turn the car on, and it wouldn't start. Which, we knew we were going to need a new battery soon, so we were probably gambling a little bit, but...
exacerbating it today for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, we went and got a new battery, so that's what we're doing now, so...
The old one was 7 years old, so...
Yeah. Hopefully everything will go smoothly, and I'll show you everything in the morning when it's actually light out. Ooh. Ooh. Very pretty. All right. So we got everything hooked up last night with a new battery, and the car started like a dream. So that was an awesome little upgrade for us. But the compressor still wasn't turning on. And so we decided to just call it a night and found a super helpful video, which I'll link down below. They were putting one of these guys on a Tacoma. There are 2 loose wires that you're supposed to hook up to your fuse box. We picked up some like fuse rerouters, but they do not fit our fuse box.
Oh, gross.
All right, well, they didn't have it in stock here, but they have it at one of the other ones in town. So, more field trip.
Out of circle. Those are 2 days. Those are the minis. Mini 2.
All right. We've been to literally every O'Reilly's in town in the last 24 hours. So hopefully this is it. Since our fuse box in the Frontier is here inside the glove box, we're gonna lower this so that we can cleanly route those wires through.
Okay, so pinch the sides. That comes down. A little elastic band here. Just take that off. That sits behind there.
and then that's out of our way.
That's it.
So we didn't have quite enough wire, so I actually cut off some leftover wire from when I shortened the wires that go to the battery terminal, and just added some splicing butts here. We'll know if it's working because when I reconnect the battery, this switch should be illuminated. Okay, so I will show you in a second on the diagram because it's a little hard to see here, but we've got our fuses here. And just point of note, you need to have 2 fuses in your add a fuse. We didn't do this right the first time. You need a fuse for the one that's existing as well as the one that you're adding. So this seems obvious, but we missed that the first time. All right, so the red wire is hooked up to this 20 amp power socket console fuse. The blue is going to this electronic parts fuse, that is hooking up to the lights in the truck so that the switch just illuminates. All right, everything's hooked up. You can see that this switch is illuminated. And you don't need to have the car fully on, but you do need to have it at least in acceleration on. And then you can hear it. It works. And because it has the pressure sensors and it's not hooked up to anything right now, it's automatically turning itself off.
You know, this video is all over the place. We're hoping that this is helpful for you if you also are trying to install one of these on one of your Nissans. And leave any questions or comments below, and we're going to come back with a review on how we like the system in a few months.